on Real Talk Broadcast Network with Bishop Robert Johnson. And tonight's guest, Art Acevedo. And tonight's topic, the power to hold on. And the subtopic, I almost left you behind. Amen. So tonight we thank God for you tuning in with us. Share this video. Invite more people. Come on in and enjoy God with this family tonight. God bless you. You are on with the Acevedos. And man, stay tuned as we go into God. Praise Him. God bless you tonight, Elder Designate Acevedo and Sister Acevedo. Go ahead and introduce yourself to the people tonight and tell us something.
I am Sister Acevedo. I am the church secretary. I wear many hats. I'm the church secretary. I'm over the beautification. I'm head usher, greeter, whatever my hands can do in labor for Christ and in building His kingdom. That's what I do.
Amen. Elder Designate.
I'm Elder Designate Acevedo. I've been with Love and Unity now about 5 years, serving on the leadership and the members board, practicing up under our angel of the church, Robert Johnson. And a little background about myself. I'm a husband, of course.
Yeah, that's what the preacher man said.
Yeah, I'm a father. And, my background is telecommunications. I've been doing it since 2005, contracting. And I'm just blessed to be with you here, Bishop, and my wife.
So
Amen.
God bless you tonight.
Amen.
You know what, Sister Acevedo, I came to you, and as I do with all of our prospective hosts, I did an interview. And I asked you one of the things that God and you had to really deal with, and you told me that God really blessed you in the area to where there is the power to hold on. But then after you said the power to hold on, you said, Bishop, I'm going to tell you, I almost left his butt. I'm serious.
I did.
What does that look like? Tell our audience what it looks like.
It looks like, get a visual of someone wanting to just tap out and be tired. But then God just gives you that extra push and that extra strength to say, no, you're not letting go.
Wow.
So,
how long have you guys been married?
We've been married for 6 years.
6 years. And minister, hearing that, man, or elder designate, hearing that, what did you feel that your wife just said, you know what, I almost wanted to tap out?
To keep it real, Bishop, you know, to look back on the past and past things that have happened in my life, I would see how that situation came about and how even she would be put into that position. It was a difficult time. I got married late in life. I'm not one who has been married for 20 years or so. I got married, and now we've been married 6 years, but I was well into my 40s before I decided to even take that journey. And, you know, I come from a background of being in the streets and doing my own thing and hanging out. And, you know, at that particular time before I turned my life over to Christ, you know, I was all good with the things that I did. I had no problem, you know, being at the club. I had no problem getting my drink on. I had no problem meeting women. It just was not in me to settle down. What I do hold that I wish, I shouldn't say hold, what I wish I would have done earlier is to turn my life over to Christ. I've missed so much out of life and the opportunities that I could have been doing greater things because of the things I was doing in the past. And I didn't know how to respect or live as a married man, more or less have integrity to do the right thing. My integrity was the streets. So I can understand that my wife, being my wife, had changed her ways and changed herself. And for her to have to struggle to wait on seeing change from me, it took someone strong, someone with a personality that was willing to trust God, that God would make those changes during prayer.
Minister, let me interject, man. I want to blow the audience out the way, out the water. You did something, Minister, one day that I've never saw a man do. And I don't care who's listening right now, man. you gained my respect that day. I'm going to remind you what you did. You came in church. Woo! You said, before you can judge me, I'm going to judge myself.
Yes.
I've been a homemonger. I've been an alcoholic.
Yeah.
I've been this and I've been that. And today I give my life to Christ. So before you judge me, I'm going to judge myself. Man, where did that strength come from to do? Because I'm going to tell you, I would have never did that. Where did that come from?
You know what? I call that campaigning. When people want to look at your faults and your past, and they want to create a gossip column about it. They want to put you right on the front page, and like you're on the Inquirer. Everything is about what you ain't doing and what you could be doing in the dark. And I got to the point where I wanted to make changes in myself, and the last thing I needed was the controversy of people gossiping about the things they thought or had no clue of what I was doing, probably only based on third-hand conversation of what they heard that I was about.
Wow.
So I felt it was necessary before the conversation or the gossip even started, if I put myself out on the table or transparent to my congregation, that it wouldn't be no use of someone to go and ask somebody, did you hear about what I heard about him? Because no, if I stand before you and tell me, yeah, you're right, I drank, yeah, I smoked, yeah, you probably did see me at the club, yeah, if I let everyone know the things that I've did and made myself transparent, there was no room for gossip anymore.
That was powerful, man. I'm going to be honest with you.
It was.
I could see the devil the day you did that, man. I could just see the air let out of the enemy. He's like, this dude has stood up and told everybody that he was a sinner without any regard. But daughter, let me ask you a question. Hearing that, knowing what you went through as a woman of God, and I know, Mother, I counseled you, and there were many nights of tears, and many nights where you just want to hold on, but yet you stayed and you held fast to God, to now to where your husband is about to be elevated to an elder years later. What attributed to that?
What attributed to
your strength?
My strength, my faith in God, the vows that I took. God told me. He gave me this understanding in which I did not understand until I guess I had to go through it. But although all of our vows are the same, the meanings are different. So what better or worse may not be for somebody else. That the meanings are different. The words are the same, but the meaning is different. And so therefore, my meaning came different, and that's what I held on to. I held on to my vows.
Wow. So let me turn my mic down. Okay, so after going through some of the things you went through, and I know the story firsthand, so what I won't go too deep, but I will say this: I saw you trust God. At the point of trusting God, what did you do, or what did God let you know that He wanted you to do in regards to your husband? Because we know the Bible said that the sanctifying wife can save the husband who is not sanctified. So how did you take that, and what did you look at when you saw that?
That I had to be the strong one for the family until he was strong enough to lead the family. I had to just steadfast and do and trust and just stay on. It reminded me of walking when Peter walked on water, and the waves and everything was what we were going through, and I had to just keep my eye on Jesus. And as long as I kept my eye on him, he held me above the water, and so therefore I didn't sink. And so therefore we didn't sink.
Wow.
Amen.
Wow. So minister, knowing you were going through what you were going through, you were living in a sinful state, how did it make you feel seeing your wife going through what she was going through?
It took a while for me to have that unveiling, that reality check, because sometimes when you're in your mess, and at that time we call it mess now, being on this side of as a believer, and then being in the streets, you don't see things the same way. You know, now I can say that. At that time, I was considering keeping it real, I just was doing me. So I was about me. I was doing me, and I didn't see the reality of the pain that it was being caused. And you really don't see that until God has opened your eyes to the pain, or what I would call this desolate dirt trail that you leave behind you when you're living a sinful life. So it took a while for my eyes to be open, and even the very first day I stepped into Love and Unity, my heart was willing to do some things, but my flesh was still wanting to do the things that I was doing in the past. Do I give an excuse for it? No, but not knowing something, they say when someone has a disability or a mental incapacity to understand things in the court of law, they say that he's mentally incompetent to understand the things that he did. I was spiritually incompetent to understand the things or how I was living in the world. So when I got the understanding and became competent in the understanding of the spirit, then I finally realized the things that I was doing. And it hurts. It hurts to know when you're in the streets, you take responsibility for the things that you do. You want to be known for someone who doesn't. But when you hurt somebody and you know that's not something that you wanted to do, or the trail of destruction you cause, or the pain that you cause someone else, it's one thing for you to go down with the ship, but when you're taking everybody with you, then you realize and wake up to say to yourself, I didn't want this. I didn't want her to hurt. I wanted to do me, but it was okay if I did me as long as I didn't think I was hurting her, or at least I thought I was getting away with it. But when I learned the pain that I was causing her and didn't realize it, or take it for granted. I guess I can't use any better word I should say than that. I took for granted the gift that God had given me. I made a vow. I went before him. I made a pledge and turned around and not just took God for granted, I took my marriage for granted.
Well, I have a question from Sister Gray. It said, Elder, regardless of what you're going through, can you say at some point you knew you would get it together and she was the one for you? Since you said I do, did you know that she was the one? In spite of the women, in spite of the alcohol, in spite of everything that you went through, did you know that Sister Acevedo was the one?
I knew she was the one from before the time that we got married. It was just something about our connection. But to be really honest with you, and some other brothers out there may hear me, and what it takes a time to you to really realize who that one really is, because sometimes on the surface you'll say that's the one because of certain criteria, certain characteristics that woman has that you seem to be attracted to. You hold on to that. But as you get into a relationship and as you build on that relationship, you ask yourself throughout time, is she the one? Did I make the right choice? Is this not the one? In the Bible, we know that when about John the Baptist had a message for Jesus, he said, are you the one, or shall we look for another? So sometimes in marriage, you almost go there and go, is she the one, or shall I look for another? But I realized that I wasn't in control. I had never been in control, even though I thought I chose her. When I realized it, I realized I never chose her. God had already chose her for me.
Yes.
I just had to go through the steps and understanding what it took to make a strong relationship.
Sister Acevedo, tell women what you had to do and tell them how to bear the nights he came home and possible times there he was intoxicated beyond belief, and how you had to hold on to God and how you had to trust God for your husband. You could not let him go. Tell them about what that feels like, because believe me, someone is going through that right now, and your testimony is going to help somebody.
What does it feel like, or what I had to do?
What you had to go through? Because I know I was on the other end of the phone.
Yeah. Well, I went through a lot of tears. There is a lot of sorrow with it, but at the same time, it's so much joy, because you can turn all that energy that you have, that pain that you have, and just, the Bible says, take off the spirit, the garment of heaviness, and put on the spirit of praise. And so there were many nights that I tussled in my living room with the enemy and said, "You're not gonna take him. He belongs to God. You're not gonna have him. He belongs to him, and I'm gonna fight for him because this is who God chose." And so there was a lot of spiritual warfare with me and the enemy. Amen. And at the same time, I thank God and I praise him every chance I got. I stayed in the word every chance I got. Like I said, I had to stay on the top of the water, because if I looked around and really looked around, I would have sunk. And so there were many, you go through all your emotions and stuff. So there was many angry nights. There were many sorrowful nights. There was a lot of praising going on. And
Well,
just
wait a minute. You said something that's critical that I want you to explain. You never said you wrestled with your husband. You said you wrestled with the enemy.
Yeah.
Can you explain that?
Because I knew it was the enemy. My husband and I have known each other for a long time, so I knew that that it had nothing to do with him, because deep down, I knew before, when we were friends and we knew each other, that he was a good guy. I knew there was something about him, so I knew it wasn't him that was doing these things. I knew it was the enemy and the things that were in him, that he was, fighting his own warfare. So I understood that. It was just hard to go through it, but I understood that was going on. I remember one time my husband asked me, "What is missing in our relationship?" And this was before we got married. And I said, "Spiritual. We don't have a spiritual relationship." And that was way before we even got married. And so I knew from that point that, for one, we were going to be together, and for two, it was going to be a spiritual it was going to be a spiritual fight.
Do me a favor, look in the mic, in the camera, and tell women that it's not their spouse, it's not your husband, it's the spirit that wants to destroy the relationship.
It is. It's not. It's not your husband. It's not. It's the enemy. It's not. It's not your husband. And don't give up. No matter what you do, don't give up. Keep fighting, keep praying, keep fasting, keep fighting, keep praying, keep fasting, keep praising. Always praise God. Always let him know how much you adore him for what he's done, not what he's gonna do, but that he's delivered him out of it. So don't give up on your husband. Hold on to him and just stay faithful, because if you stay faithful to God, God is gonna answer your prayers. Ooh. I promise you, he's gonna answer them, because he answered every one of mine, and he's still doing it. Even if you think he's not, don't leave until you hear from him and say, "I ain't going nowhere, Lord, until I hear from you, and that you tell me it's going to be okay." And he's going to let you know. You just got to stay fast and stay trusting in God.
Wow, man. Minister, when you hear that, man, I just saw you look over at her. What did you feel?
You know what? Love. We search high and low for love in all the wrong places. And we really don't know how to love, but when you find someone strong in your life that loves you that much, to go before God, to lay before God and pray for you, and to trust that God will bring you out and not ask God for another, says a lot for her as a woman of God. She could have asked for another. "Lord, I don't want to be in this. Take me away from this situation." But instead of that, she made a choice to trust God and said, "God, you will do the changes. I don't want anybody else. I want him." So I'm very thankful to God, and I'm thankful for what he's given me and my wife, strength.
If I may really quick say, it's amazing. Remember how God tells us, or we say that we can remind God of his word and remind him, we don't have to beg, we could petition. And so it's one of those, things where you said, "If I do this, I meet my requirements, you'll give me the desires of my heart." And the desire of my heart is that my husband is saved and is with his family, and he is to be in the place that you created and designed him to be. And so he does that. So if he did it for me and my husband, I guarantee it, he will do it for you and yours.
One of the women said, Sister Acevedo, knowing that there's no perfect marriage, how do you deal with it? I mean, I believe you already answered, but she said, knowing me, I'm going to tap out. What would you say to her to encourage her?
I would say don't tap out. Do not tap out. As much as you may feel like you want to, I promise there was times where I felt like it. God is not going to let you tap out, because if it's in his will that you and your husband are together, you're not going to tap out. It's not going to be in your heart to tap out, because he's not going to allow that to happen. He said that he will take that burden away from you. When you say, Lord, I'm at that tapping out time, I am at my breaking point, he is going to make a way. You just got to hold on to that.
Well, Minister, now, after you have given God your life and rededicated your life to Christ, in March the 19th, you will be elevated to the position of elder. It took a while. How are you feeling within yourself? Your family is complete. Your family is together. You're elevating in ministry. Your wife got tears in her eyes.
You made me cry. I know. I'm sorry.
You know to see you like Joseph to go from the pit to the pulpit. Talk about it, Doc.
You know, I've always told my wife, and I struggled. I struggled with it because of what my calling was, or God said I was supposed to be, or where He has placed me. I struggled with that, and you know, I think a lot of men do struggle who are changing their life and walking for Christ. That battle of God is in my heart. You know, God is telling you to get it right because He has a place for you to be, or a purpose for you. But then you're saying, like, well, why would you choose me? And what could I possibly do to change anybody's mind? And if people want to live the way they want to live, and then I'm going through my own personal struggles and dealing with, but God is amazing because whatever purpose He had for me, it never changed. The only person that changed was me. The only person that went off course was me. He always stayed faithful to me. And then to this point now where He has gotten my marriage to where it is, and some struggles, don't get me wrong, everything is not peaches and cream all the time, but He's still giving me a peace where I trust in Him now that what He has for me and what we've been doing and what our praying and our fasting, our oneness and God and the things that we've been doing, we've been seeing change. And I'm honored to even be in this position. I still would say to you, Bishop, that what God has given you and the vision He's given you, and even at this time, I'm still kind of mind blown with what God is spoken to your life concerning me, and I'm just really overwhelmed about what God is doing in Love and Unity. The place I'm going to be in coming this March, it's going to be a whole new rededication. Not just that I'm dedicated now, but it's a role dedication where I'm to up until this point. To be really honest with you, Bishop, I was doubting whether or not I should take a position that I might be not able to fulfill those shoes. But as of today, and what God has done in my family, and what happened just today in church, I think I'm ready.
Man, stop trying to be modest, Doc. You preach the text,
if you
boy.
don't knock it
You
off.
preach, man.
Knock it
Hey,
off.
let me tell you, man,
God
this man
used
preached
you.
today. This man says you got
God
to change.
used
Go ahead
you.
and give us a couple of, a
Jesus.
little bit from the word today, man, to help
Amen.
people out.
Amen. Amen. The topic was change, or a cause for change. You know, God had given me revelation over the week, preparing for this sermon, and what He gave me was change. Change is being preached all over, but there's little change being done in the church. Though the word is going forth, there's little change. So in this sermon that the Lord had given me, He told me, don't stop preaching change until change come. You keep preaching change until the people hear you, till the people hear the word of God come from you to where they make change. I told him that what I recently had dealt with my cousin, that he was moving some furniture out of his storage because I wanted to get a microwave from him. And I noticed that we were taking out all this garbage out this storage, things that he didn't need, that he was hoarding up, and all of the valuable things were in the back of the storage. But instead of getting rid of this stuff to clear out some room for some more valuable stuff, we wind up getting what I wanted, and then we pile all that mess back into the storage and locked it up like somebody was going to come and steal it. And it just opened my heart and my mind to say, well, this is what we do in life. We store this trash and this junk, refusing to get rid of it, and the things of value has been stuffed in the back. So how can we make change if we keep holding on to things of the past? And we don't just hold on to them, we lock them up. And when I'm saying we lock them up, we lock our emotions, our heart, our mind, our thinking, the way we do things. We hold on to things and we lock them. I told the saints of God today that it's time to change, a call for change. It's easy for us when we're going through something in our lives. We have a call for change. If our husband is not acting right, there's a call for change. If our wife is not acting right or our kids are not acting right, there's a cause for change. But when it comes to you and looking yourself in the mirror for a cause of change, that's where it stops. And saints, right now, we need to start making a change. We are in a desperate time. The state of affairs, the imminent danger, the present danger that we're under right now. The church is under fire. The enemy is running rampant. Our children are being affected, and the leadership is failing. We need to make change, and we first need to make change is by trusting God, trusting His word. Obediency is the most important part. We want to do change in the church and the leadership, and we want everyone to make that commitment to change. No one can do it but yourself. You're the only person who can come to that realization, and if you don't take time out to spend time with God so God can give you some direction, what's going to happen is that everyone is going to be affected by it. Your children, your children's children. God's house is grown weak because those who are not changing are affecting the ones who have made change. The seasoned saints are being affected by the ones who don't want to change. The pastor and the spirit is being grieved because those who don't want to make change, we spend too much time spending time changing folk instead of doing God's work. Somewhere the church is out of line. If we're spending too much time saving folks, encouraging folks, then we have a problem, because that we put God's work to the side to save the saint. We got it backwards, people. We need to be doing God's work
so folk can get saved.
Come on.
Wow.
Yes.
Thank you, Elder Designate Acevedo. Sister Acevedo, before we close, I want you to have closing remarks to women everywhere. Women who feel like they want to quit, they can't make it, their husband has lost their job. Encourage them before we close.
I encourage you to trust God. I encourage you to continue to pray for your husband. Do not let up. Don't be determined to win and beat the enemy. And the way to do that is to trust and go to God. Steadfast on God. Don't let go. That's the best thing you can do, is to pray and fast and trust God with everything inside of you. Never down talk your husband, no matter what's going on. If he lost his job, don't down talk him. Try and keep his, encourage him and try and keep him, men got a way of feeling, a certain way if they can't provide. You don't want to knock him down or kick him when he's down. You want to build him up, because when you build him up, he's going to when he goes up, you going with him. So you don't want to tear the man down while, he's down. You want to build him up and remind him of who he is. He is a strong man. He is a man of God. Even if you think he's not there yet, put it in the atmosphere that he is there yet, because God says that it is so. So it was already done when he was when he was formed in his mother's womb. So you keep on to that.
Amen. So that's all right, minister. His phone went off. It's okay. No, let me say this in closing.
Sorry.
You are amazing, an amazing couple. God is doing some amazing things in your life. Amen. And I want to say thank you for coming on tonight. I'm kind of in tears myself and jacked up because I know your story. But thank you for tuning in tonight with Real Talk Broadcast Network. You have been on with Elder Designate Rick Acevedo and Sister Inez Acevedo. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, be blessed.
God bless. God bless.